to Giovanni Barillari. He will be talking about pyDAL, a pure Python database abstraction layer. Giovanni is a physicist and software developer. He graduated from the University of Ferrara. He co-founded a couple of startups and worked with some local companies in Italy, mainly on web applications. Since 2012, Giovanni is a contributor of Web2Py web frameworks, one of the core developers of pyDAL, and in 2014 released WebP, his own web framework. He strongly believes in open source and collaborative software.
Thank you. Okay, hello everybody. I'm Giovanni. Before I can start, I would like to say a big thank you to the organization and to the sponsors, in particular Python Anywhere, which gave me a great help to being here today. And so, let's talk about this Python database abstraction layer, starting with definition of a database abstraction layer. So, it's basically some library that reduce a lot the amount of code you have to write when you deal with databases, and also try to remove a lot of specific dialects from the specific database language. And so basically something that helps you doing that. Basically, starting from SQL code, you can write it using Python and using objects in Python rather than writing a lot of strings and passing them through the adapters when you work with databases. So it's something that tries to make you comfortable when you work with databases in Python. And so basically, this is how it works. So you have your code in Python. You write some instructions in Python code, and you have the database abstraction layer is actually inside that square. So basically, it does the translation from your operation in Python, write on the fly SQL code, pass it to the database management, and encapsulate the results into Python objects to give you something better than the raw values from the database. So why you should use that? Well, it simplifies a lot the syntax. I mean, you just write Python code instead of I don't know, MySQL code, Postgre, specific dialects, I don't know, MongoDB, specific queries. And obviously, you can use Python and its objects. And also, you can write just one code, and it will work on a lot of several databases. I mean, you can write the same code to run both on SQLite, MySQL, Postgre, MongoDB, whatever. And so, some information about pyDAL project was actually developed by the Web2Py team in the last 8 years, was a part of the Web2Py framework. And we ended separating it into dedicated project. Because you can use it from console if you don't want to write a web application and just use some just do some database operation. You can use pyDAL from the console, and it's compatible with Python 2.6, 2.7. In the last release, we added some experimental Python support for 3.3 and 3.4. And it works on Google App Engine too. You can install it just with the pip command, so it's available on pyPI repositories. And those are the databases we are supporting right now, quite a lot actually. So you can, as I said before, write the same code, and it will run on every one of those databases. And so how you use it? Basically, you have some classes you want to use. The first one is the DAL class, which represents your connection to the database. So you always start with a DAL object. And the other two main important objects are the table, which obviously refers to a database table, or collection, depending if you're on Mongo, whatever. And a field, so a specific column of your table. And this is an example on how you actually define a table in your database. The other important objects of pyDAL are the query, which obviously helps you to write queries on your database, and the set. The main difference between the query and the set, you can see that basically you write a query passing to the database, and you will get a subset of your database containing all the rows you actually queried for. So basically, the objects you will get from pyDAL when you do queries on the database are rows and row. Obviously, rows is a set of the row object. And so let's move on. And this is the start point. Every time you want to use pyDAL, you just use the DAL class and instantiate a new object passing a string which contains all the connection parameters for your database. So in this example, we have MySQL and username Walter with password very secret on localhost, and the database name will be cooking. And the next step for you is to define your entities, your tables. And actually, it's quite simple. You can use the define table function of the DAL object you just created. And so basically, the first parameter is the name of the table. And then you can pass a field, a list of field objects. For example, people had name, nickname, profession column, an age field which will be an integer. So basically, the field class of pyDAL takes name of the column and a type. If you don't specify a type, pyDAL thinks it's a string field, so it's a varchar, basically, in MySQL. Obviously, there's a lot of parameters you can send to the field invocation. For example, I don't know, length for the field, if has to be not null, whatever. And as you can see, also the datetime type of a field helps you, because when you insert some dates inside your database, with pyDAL you will get, when you select some values from that table, the date attribute of the rows you will get will be actually a datetime object in Python. So probably you were thinking, if you worked with databases, you are thinking on migrations. They're quite hard sometimes. And pyDAL actually has this feature to automatically migrate your tables when, for example, you have to add columns or remove some columns from the old tables, or, I don't know, a change in a type. Except in SQLite, because it's quite a mess in SQLite. But and if you want to disable the automatic migration of the tables, you can obviously tell to pyDAL to don't do that at the database level or at a specific table level. And so the next step, when you define your tables, you may want to do some inserts. And the syntax is quite self-explanatory. We defined the people table with some fields, and now we are just calling the insert function of those tables, which actually are attributes of our database object. So I can call db.people.insert and give the values for the field I want to insert in my database in a record. So I just adding Walter White with some nickname and profession is chemist, age 50. And yeah, there's another example on the article tables I showed you before. And you can see I can insert an object with a daytime field. I can just add the daytime.now attribute function, sorry, and it will work. So you don't have to translate from daytime object to strings and vice versa. So if you work with database, you would like to, I mean, you have to use transaction. And in pyDAL, it's very simple because you just have the commit function on database and the rollback. So basically, everything you do on your database, it's not uploaded to the database until you commit the changes. And at the same level, if you want to roll back some changes you are doing on your database, you can just call rollback function, and it will ignore all changes you put in since the last commit you did. So when you insert some values, then you would like to give them, take them back from the database, so using the selects. And also in this case, the query is quite easy. I mean, you take your database object and call it with the query inside the parentheses. So in this example, I want to get all the chemists from the people table I defined. And so basically, I just putting that query to tell, I want every chemist. I want every row in my database that has profession attribute with value chemist. And I get the rows object back, and I can take one single row from the rows object I got, and you can see it's the same we pushed in before with the insert. It's Walter White again. And you can access the attribute of the row with just that name of the attribute. So in this case, name, Walter White. And yeah, I mean, the select is probably the most, the operation you will use most dealing with database. But you also need, I mean, for example, count, update, delete. You can do a lot of operation on your database, and the syntax on pyDAL is every the same. So basically, you always create a subset of your database using a query. And then you can use one of the several operations allowed by the database you're using. So a count will give me the number of records responding to that specific query. And I can update all the people in database who has profession set as chemist and change with the professor one. I would like to delete every person with professor, which has a profession set as professor, just calling the delete command on that specific set. And well, you have some shortcuts for the very common operations. So if you want to do a select, you can use, for example, the shortcut in to and call directly the people table with the name with the name parameter, and is the same to yeah, this one, okay, which with the name column, but it's the same. Or if you want to update, you can just use that syntax if you know the ID of the record. Also the delete shortcut. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of shortcuts available, and those are the most common operations you will do on the database. But let's say you want to start doing something more advanced. Let's say you have an items table, for example, to I don't know, store the items you have in a store actually. So you have the price and the quantity of that specific item, and you want to also have the total for the value of those items stored in. And so every time you want to have the total, you possibly select all the items and then manually multiply the price for the quantity of every item. But you can also use a computed field in pyDAL, which do it automatically when you insert or select records. So in this example, I'm inserting an item with a price of about $2, and I have 5 items in my store. And pyDAL compute automatically the value every time I select the record, okay? And you can also use a different approach for the same purpose. I mean, if you actually, the computed field actually compute the value every time you insert the data or update the data. But you may want also to compute the values on the flight, and you can use 2 different fields in pyDAL to do that. You can use the virtual field, which actually will be computed only when you're selecting a record from your database. Or you can use a method, and then you will have inside your row a method you can call. For example, if you have to calculate discount value for your item given a specific discount, okay? You will have that method inside the row you selected, and you can call it. And another basic stuff you will do with database are relations, obviously, because it's the very basic operation you do when you have tables is making relations between them. So let's start with simplest relation, which is one-to-many. So let's say I have people table and the articles table, and every article is related to one specific author. So we have that the person can have many articles, and an article has only one person. Sorry, and to do that, you just use the reference field type of pyDAL. So in this example, this is the articles table, assuming you have the people table defined, and you just put in there the author field, which is reference to the people table. And when you insert a new record in the articles, you just put the ID of the specific author from the people table into the new row. And then when you select the values from the database, you will have the linking of the reference the row inside the specific record you selected. So in this case, if I get an article of Walter White, I can access the author attribute of the article row I selected, and I will have all the attributes of the author one into my row object. And if I have to get all the articles from a specific author, I can get my author and then call the articles attribute on that specific author and do a select, because it will be articles will be a subset of the database with the query automatically added to it. And the many-to-many relation, it's, well, this is quite self-explanatory. So I have people table and the professions table, and I want to link in a many-to-many relation those tables. So I will have that a person can have multiple professions, and a profession can have multiple can have many people related to. So I will use this scheme with 3 tables: the people, the profession, and the membership, which links the relationship between the other 2. And to do that, I just define the 2 table, people and profession, and then the membership with the 2 reference field. Okay. So basically, it's like the one before, but with the 3rd table containing the relationship. And when I want to get, for example, all the people are chemists, or all the jobs of a specific person, I can actually write down this set when I querying for the people which has specific membership, and on the other side the profession from the table. Okay, and you build this set, okay, with this query, and then you will have that all the chemists are actually contained into your new set, and you can just select the chemists with the previous syntax, and the same is for getting the jobs for a specific person. Okay, and we also have several query operators. So, for example, if you want to select all the people which have a name containing water, or with an age belonging to 50 or 60. And another cool stuff of pyDAL is that when you have daytime field inside your table, you can actually query a specific attribute of that object. So if I want to select all the articles in 2015, I can just use the date year function and put it on the query, and this will work on pyDAL. And yeah, we have many more available. And we also have some expression you can use when you do selects, order by, limit by, group by, all operations you actually use when, yeah, if you need a specific ordering with the rows you want to select from the database, or if you want just 10 results from your query. And yeah, that's quite simple. And sometimes you would like to, how to say, go raw. So um, don't use pyDAL syntax and get back to the specific database, the specific syntax of the database you're using. And you can do that directly from pyDAL when you need it with the execute SQL command. So this is an example in MySQL and SQLi, I think. And what else? If you want to go further, we have the GitHub repository available on GitHub, and the complete documentation of pyDAL is actually inside the Web2Py one, because I mean in the Web2Py book it was well documented how to use the DAL, and so yeah, if you need to watch the complete documentation, you will find it on the Web2Py website. And we also have some groups on Google Groups for developers, for users. So if you have questions, or if you want to find out some snippets of code, or just ask some I don't know, ideas on how to do that, you can use the developers groups and the users groups. And what else? We are actually working on some features. We would like to add indexes support. We don't have it yet. So if you want to create indexes actually with pyDAL, you have to run the specific database command depending on which database you're using, because yeah, for example, in MySQL it's different from MongoDB to create an index. And so actually you have to manually write down the command just once to create an index. But we are planning to add it to the syntax with Python. We would also like to add the full text search support. Yeah, we are working on it. And as I said before, we just added some experimental support on Python 3. And it's not very stable because we just added it to it. But we are also working on improvements on Python 3 support. So if you want to use pyDAL on Python 3, yeah, it will be better and better in the next months. And we also trying to add some advanced features in the migration engine. As I said before, pyDAL automatically migrates the tables, the rows inside your tables when you change fields in your tables or drops on tables. But we would like to add some advanced features. If you have to do complex migrations inside your database, actually in pyDAL you have to execute the commands on the database. But yeah, we are working on it, and yeah, we are also happy to have people pushing pull requests on the GitHub repository. We're also happy of people interested into contribute to the development of pyDAL. And yeah, actually, that's it. I want to leave a lot of time for questions if you have, and yes.
A couple of questions. Do updates to pyDAL show up in the pyDAL repo first, or in Web2Py, and then how long do they take to sync?
Okay. Actually, in pyDAL, we are using, for example, the latest version is, I have to give back. Okay, is the yes 15.05.26. So we are using a naming for the versions in pyDAL, which is like the Ubuntu one. So we have year, month, and when you see a release with a day in the release number, is a bug fix release. So we actually trying to push out one release every month or every two. It depending on how which issues we have on or new features we have on the calendar. And yes, basically every time we release a new version, it will be tracked down by Web2Py and integrated in Web2Py in the next release. So basically, I think there are a couple of weeks of delay from the pyDAL release and the Web2Py release, but yeah, it will be more tested. I mean, having pyDAL separated from Web2Py gave us the opportunity to better to improve the tests on the pyDAL, which was one of the biggest part of Web2Py. And so yeah, we just released a couple of versions of pyDAL, so it's quite a new releasing strategy. But I think yes, the maximum amount of time between the pyDAL release and the Web2Py will be a couple of weeks.
Question, and I've probably gotten this one 100 times, but what are the differences in pyDAL and SQL?
Yeah. This is also this is also why we call that DAL and not an ORM. Basically, when you have an ORM, you actually define your entities, and usually the ORM takes care of everything. I mean, for example, in Django, when you want to do a many-to-many relationship, you don't have actually to write down in the code all the tables, the membership tables, for example, to link the other two. Because the backend actually try to make it. And so the main difference and approach is that pyDAL actually it's a bit lower as abstraction as layer in the programming. So you are how to say more close to the database and less close to how to say your entities. So you have to. It's very useful when you want to keep thinking on the database when you're programming, and not have so many layers between your code and what happens actually on the database. It's just one level abstraction from the database syntaxes and stuffs. And so basically, how to say, it's more, you can use it more frequently. I mean, an ORM, you usually use it only on the website. So pyDAL actually can be more useful also when you're dealing just with a database without a front web backend or whatever. Yes. Okay, so the question was if you're using MongoDB and you want to use the specific queries of MongoDB with pyDAL, are you able to do that or not? Okay, actually, the MongoDB support in pyDAL was, I think that the last 2 years was experimental support in Web2Py. We are trying to improve a lot the MongoDB adapter of pyDAL. And actually, if you want to use specific queries on MongoDB from pyDAL, you have to go raw, actually. But yeah, we also discussed some features related more to NoSQL database, not relational database. So yeah, right now, if you use MongoDB with pyDAL, you're actually using it as a relational database. But yes, it's in the discussion group because yes, non-SQL databases are even more popular every day, so we absolutely want to add some features that better support those specific functions. Yes?
I got a few questions. How do you handle schemas?
Schemas.
So like in DB2, you may have a database, but then you'll have multiple. By default, it uses the
Mhm.
So when you do a select query, if you're not that user, you have to do select star from schema.table. Are you able to handle that on the connection?
No, actually, we are not. Yes. Oh, yes, yes, right. Yes, yes. pyDAL has a feature which is the R name for the tables. So you basically can define how to say alias for other tables or other fields, or to use fancy names. And R name is the way you actually yeah, can use to do that. Yeah, if you look at the documentation on the official website, you will have the complete snippet to do that.
And then the second one was, the one thing I'm doing, I use Django a lot to inspect databases
Okay.
and then generate the models from that. Is there a way to do that and generate the tables in
I mean, we have some ways to do that from, I don't know, CSV files, or, yeah, you can define some schemes on, yeah, you can define your tables on CSV files, or we have a couple of, yeah, importing way to create the database from files. But from database to, I mean, you said, you meant from an existing database to imported that into pyDAL. No, I don't think we can do it automatically. Because, yeah, no, I don't think no. Any other questions? I don't think no. Thank you.